What do you do when life gets hard? And I mean really hard. What if rock bottom isn't the end, but a foundation to help you reach a new level? The great German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said it best: what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah, I know. It's very cliche, but it is true. Currently, I experienced a rock bottom on May 8th. I lost my job, I lost my health insurance, I lost my driver's license, I lost my protection from deportation. And so now I have to start from scratch. This was unexpected. It was not in my cards. But what am I going to do about it? My work permit expired, and so that's why my life changed dramatically on May 8th. My DACA expired. Along with that, my work permit expired. Now, I can't control that. I cannot. But what can I control? It's my attitude. I have to go after it. I just have to. And this is not strange territory for me. I've hit rock bottom multiple times. And before I talk to you guys about what am I doing during this rock bottom moment, how am I building my foundation with new ventures, I would like to take you back to 1998. Good old 1998. That's the year that I was born in Honduras. My mom left me in the hands of my grandmother at the age of 3 to pursue better opportunities. And this is your typical immigrant story. It's no different. Honduras is rampant with drugs, with violence, with gangs. And my mom wanted a better future for me. She wanted for me to have a better chance of life, of survival. And no better place than America, right? Land of the free, home of the brave. This is where you can build a better life. And so she did. And fast forward to 2005, I went on a long, very long journey of 23 days. I went through land, water to get here. And I have nothing but gratitude for my mom for taking that courageous move to make it here, to bring me here, because this is the best place for me to grow up in. It wasn't easy. I didn't know a lick of English when I got here. I did not know anything about Memphis, Tennessee. Everything was strange. It was a whole new world for me. I had to get acclimated to the environment. But before I even get acclimated to the environment, I needed to learn English. So that's where I started going to school in Jackson Elementary. It was tough. And quite frankly, I was this kid that was curious, and I would find myself in trouble year after year. But that curiosity also made me want to learn more about English, read more books. And every year, while I was also getting in trouble, I was also excelling academically. Fourth grade year, I won the Accelerated Reader Award, which means I read the most books and I got the most points from those quizzes. And I competed against upperclassmen, fifth graders, and sixth graders, and I came on top. But that's just because I was competitive. That's what motivated me at that time. I wanted to be at the top. Even though life was hard, I knew that at the end of the day, if I put my best foot forward, I knew I could compete against the best. I just knew it. I had a big sense of confidence in myself that despite my accent, despite any other ability that I couldn't control, I knew I could control my attitude and my work ethic. And that carried me on through the rest of my life. Middle school came, I went to Kingsbury Middle School. I had the most fun there. I joined band, soccer, wrestling at one point. I was a football manager. I was a basketball manager. I even went to tutoring for philosophy. I wanted to do it all as long as I was not home. I was happy. I was happy not to be home and to be busy with things that interest me. And that's where I grew up a relationship with my 8th grade algebra teacher, Erin. She saw something that I didn't see in myself. She saw this kid that had great potential, despite the environment that I was raised in. One day she was like, hey, I think you should consider going to a private school in Memphis called Christian Brothers High School. And I said, I don't know anything about Christian Brothers, but if you say so, why not? Why not? That became my motto. Why not? Let's try it. One thing led to another. I started my high school career at Christian Brothers High School. Mind you, I went to Kingsbury Middle School, which is predominantly Black and Latinx, generally under-resourced school, to an affluent, all-white Catholic high school. Night and day. I remember the first week at Christian Brothers High School, I averaged around 5 hours of homework. In comparison to Kingsbury Middle School, I didn't average an hour. And I ended up being the salutatorian, so top 2 of my class. How was that possible? I don't know. But Christian Brothers High School taught me how to work hard. I would wake up at 5 a.m. for soccer workouts, go to school. Right after school, I had soccer practice. After soccer practice, I would eat dinner, maybe take a quick nap, and then I would do homework from like 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Rinse and repeat. That was my life for 4 years. And that was the best thing ever. Christian Brothers was challenging academically, socially, and spiritually. But it taught me that if I was successful at Christian Brothers, then I can be successful anywhere else. And I had that mindset when I applied to colleges. I applied to 14 colleges. Out of those 14 colleges, only one accepted me. Rhodes College. I applied to Yale, Harvard, all the top colleges you can think of. I was delusional, to say the least. Again, I shot for the moon, and I didn't get there, but God had something better for me, and that was Rose College. In 2016, though, that's the first year that I realized my true status of being a DACA recipient and what that actually meant. DACA was such a blessing for me in 2013. And then 3 years later, I realized the impact of how privileged I was, but also how much it limited me. With DACA, I had the ability to work and study here legally, but also I was limited to federal grants, in-state tuition. I had limited access to certain careers like medicine, law, And so it impacted me in a lot of ways. I didn't know that I was protected under this program. But nevertheless, that didn't stop me. When Rosa said to me, Rosa is super expensive. It's around 60,000 a year, and they were really generous with the financial package they provided me with. They gave me around 30,000, but how am I going to provide the remaining 30,000? It was insane. I couldn't, grasp my head around 30,000 out of my pocket or my parents' pockets on a yearly basis. But my mentors, my two angels, Ann and Jared, set up a GoFundMe. They were able to raise around 7,000 to 8,000, and that was a huge help. But the biggest help was being granted the Bonner Scholarship that allowed me to go on a full ride to Rhodes College. And all of that came from the GoFundMe description. It got in the hands of the director of the Bonner Scholarship, and the rest is history. Attending Rhodes was the best decision of my life, although it was unexpected. But here's the recurring theme, right? God doesn't give me what I want, He gives me what I need. I didn't want to go to Christian Brothers. It was not in my plan. I did not want to go to Rhodes. It wasn't in my plan. And those two places were in God's plan, and I tried to do the best I could. So here comes little Dorian in 2016, August. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I explored different careers. When I first started taking classes, I was interested in political science, international studies. I had this silly dream of becoming mayor of Memphis. And that summer in 2017, I did research in economic development. I had the chance to interview at the time current mayor Paul Young and Lee Harris. And Lee Harris was absolutely blunt with me, which changed my whole idea of becoming a mayor in Memphis. He told me how in order to become mayor in Memphis, you need a campaign. In order to have a campaign, you need funds. In order to have funds, you need donors. In order to get that money from those donors, you need to follow their agenda. So essentially, you're a puppet. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to be a puppet. I just don't know. And so that was a big experience that made me think twice about my major and my career choice. And next thing you know, I had a difficult time deciding what to study. And my mom gets sick, and she goes to the hospital. And I'm the only child, and that hit me hard that time, because I'm like, well, I'm the only child, my mom is sick. My priority is to provide. And so my priority should be to get a major that increases the likelihood of me getting a job after I graduate in 3 years. And so I decided to do economics. Not because it was easy, but because I thought it was going to secure me a job after graduation. And so I did it. I studied economics, and I always struggled trying to secure an internship just because of my status. I remember one time I applied to a financial internship. As soon as I answered no to the citizenship question, it automatically locked me out. I'm not a citizen. And unfortunately, I was not eligible for that role because I'm a DACA recipient and not a citizen. I wasn't even given a fair shot to interview. On paper, I thought I was well qualified. But because I am not a U.S. citizen, I was ineligible. but I kept trying. I kept trying. Eventually, I ended up getting an internship at FedEx Express, and that was great. That same summer too, I went to Harvard Business School. I got the exposure of what's it's like to be a MBA student at one of the best, or not the best, business school in the United States, Harvard's Business School. And it was amazing. One of the best academic experiences I ever had in my life. It was inspiring, and I knew that from that experience, I wanted to create something. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know when, but I knew I was going to come back to that same dream that I had of creating something. I started my career with PNC Bank, and it was the best time that I had there too. It was my first time having a real job, and when I got the offer, it made me very thankful, just because in just 1 year I made more than my mom ever made in 25 years being in America. And that's exactly why my mom came to the United States, because she wanted me to reach new heights that she never could, because of the place she was born in and because of her status. So I am living my mom's dream, going above and beyond and achieving my dreams. Right after PNC Bank, I went to JP Morgan, and for me, I was an associate in the commercial banking space, and I was the youngest one. So this is like the pinnacle of my career in a way. I worked for the best bank in the whole world. I was on cloud nine. But then again, I felt like I wanted to do something more. I felt like there was something else out there for me. And it sounds a bit of ungrateful to say that too, because what else do I want? But what I want is to impact my community. I want to do more that can reach more people beyond Memphis. But JP Morgan was a great experience. I got to work with some of the best people I could ever work with. But deep down, I knew that I wanted to do more. I knew that I could do more. You know, at JP Morgan, I never had a Latino client, just because I was working with businesses in the South that generated between 10 million all the way to like 2 billion. And there was no Latino business owner in that range, in that specific industry. And that kind of sparked a big question in me. Why? I think there's so much potential, but why? I'll come back to that in a different episode, but we'll paint that. So fast forward to now, 2026. I was working with First Horizon. I finally reached the vice president title. I had a huge portfolio. I was empowering and advising local businesses in Memphis and the surrounding areas. I enjoyed it. It was very demanding, it was very stressful, but in a way it was rewarding. And my whole plan was to work there, not forever, but to work there for a few years while I develop a business. But God had different plans once again. He said, oh, you have that idea of starting a business or growing a business in a few years, but I want you to do it now. And so on May 8th, I was laid off from my job because I couldn't verify my I-9 meaning I couldn't provide legal paperwork to my employer saying that I can legally work for you guys. And it's a huge liability. It's nothing against my employer. I understand the decision they made. But it hit me hard because that day I lost everything I ever worked for, and I had to build from scratch. But I know I will, and in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and a year from now, I'm gonna be super grateful that they laid me off. I'm gonna be super grateful that my DACA expired. I'm gonna be super grateful that I wasn't allowed to work, because the past months I have reflected hard about what's next. And what's next is Canales Consulting, 100% plumbing, Rockin Bottom. So I have 3 eggs, and one of those eggs has to hatch. Maybe all of them hatch, meaning all of them will be successful. I'm excited for this new journey, and I hope that if you ever lost, life has hit you with unexpected plans, you don't have a roadmap for what's next, I hope you follow my journey to get some inspiration, because this whole podcast is about navigating bottoms with faith and grit. I'm gonna do some solo interviews of myself, but I'm also gonna pull in guests to talk about their journeys. What did they do when life got hard? How did they respond? What helped them during those rock bottom moments? What are they doing now? Success is not built overnight, and so I also want to show you guys the process to that, to success. And success is different from different people. The type of success I'm looking for is if I can at least impact one person, make them realize that the rock bottom is not the end, but their foundation to a new level, then I'm happy. I'm at peace. Thank you for listening. Please follow for more. And I'm excited for this new journey. Let's climb together.